In South Africa, government needs support from a majority of MPs in the legislature. This has never been a problem for the ANC since it swept to power in 1994, as it represented the hopes and dreams of millions in a new era for the country. But the honeymoon is long over, and pollsters believe the party will now struggle to get the majority it needs to dictate South Africa's future on their terms. So it seems they'll have to enter into negotiations with lesser parties to stay in power. But who will it be, and what would possible coalitions mean for South African policy? Two possible options are the left-leaning Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF, or the centrist Democratic Alliance, or DA.
If it was the ANC and the EFF, I think there would be some alignment in terms of your different policies. But I do think that it would raise an interesting concern in terms of its foreign relations. An EFF-ANC coalition could possibly mean nationalization, which would scare off foreign direct investment. If it was a DA-ANC coalition, I think that would be an absolute nightmare in terms of foreign policy, because the DA doesn't hold the same position in terms of a lot of things that the ANC agrees on.
One of the ANC's strongest foreign policy stances is on the war in Gaza. The government received enormous support for its case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Turkey is the latest country after Colombia to officially join the case. Before that, President Cyril Ramaphosa traveled to Russia, hoping to influence President Vladimir Putin regarding the country's conflict with Ukraine. The ANC has always wanted to play a peace role.
Initially, there was a focus in terms of human rights, notions of Ubuntu, and so on. And I think over time, we've seen a transition away from that. And I think what has been coming through a lot with regards to our foreign relations is the close ties that South Africa has with Russia. The Reese case with regards to genocide with Israel, that was also a fascinating development. And some say that it signaled a return to the initial foreign policy with an emphasis in terms of, again, peace, security, and caring about people, and so on.
Once the votes are counted, it's going to be another numbers game to see who forms the coalition, and that will determine how the country will pivot over the next few years.
If the ANC gets between 45 and 50, then they have an alliance with Inkatha, a conservative party, or other small conservative parties, and then they shift to the right. If they get between 35 and 45 only, then they may have the Economic Freedom Fighters and the MK party. Then that would bring either together or even separately the ANC over 50. And then the ANC would have more left-wing populist rhetoric around foreign policy.
The BRICS partnership has also grown over time and has become a strategic part of South Africa's foreign policies. BRICS is an organization of several major emerging economies, including China, and more recently, Saudi Arabia.
Having South Africa as part of BRICS or BRICS Plus would obviously then secure relations with other African countries and possibly result in more African countries deciding to join BRICS Plus. But again, this is also quite interesting because some of the BRICS Plus countries don't align with the values that the existing BRICS have, like Saudi Arabia, for example, very oil wealthy. So what is their commitment, for example, to climate change when you are so heavily reliant on oil?
It's going to be an election like none before it in South Africa later this month. Analysts believe that it will be a pivotal moment in determining just how South Africa balances its domestic priorities with its foreign policy ambitions. Sumitra Nadu, CGTN, Johannesburg.